They say that the hardest part isn't the fall itself, but what comes after you've hit the ground. You've just experienced something many call an ego death. Maybe it came through a spiritual awakening. Maybe it shattered you during a personal crisis, a breakup, a psychedelic journey, or years of internal struggle that finally broke through to the surface. Whatever the trigger, you felt it. That identity you carried for so long crumbled. It disappeared. And for a brief moment there was peace, maybe even a sense of freedom. But now you find yourself in the silence. No goals, no clear sense of who you are, no motivation to chase after anything. Just an emptiness, where your old self used to be. This is where many get lost. We imagine that enlightenment is some endless state of bliss, of floating above it all. But the truth? It's messy, it's confusing. It can leave you on the floor of your own life, wondering why anything even matters anymore. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung knew this all too well. He called it the death of the persona. That mask we wear for the world, suddenly gone, and in its place we see how much of our life was shaped by fear, by needing approval, by ego-driven roles we thought defined us. But Jung also saw this moment not as an end, but as the start of something much more real. A kind of birth, not of who you were pretending to be, but of who you've always been beneath it all. The question is, how do you move from this hollow space to living with meaning again? How do you rebuild without slipping back into pretending? That's exactly what we're about to explore here. And no, it's not about becoming more productive or hustling your way out of it. It's about something deeper, connecting to a motivation that doesn't come from status or validation, but from your soul. And Jung left us powerful clues on how to find it. So stay with me until the end, because we're going to completely transform how you understand motivation, purpose, and healing after an ego death. By the time we're done, you'll have a whole new way of moving forward, not going back to who you were, but finally stepping into who you were always meant to be. Let's begin. After an ego death, most people find themselves in a strange place, the void. Not exactly depression, not quite apathy, more like nothing sticks. All the things you used to chase, success, recognition, identity, they feel empty now. Setting goals feels meaningless. Affirmations sound fake. Vision boards collect dust. It's not that you don't have motivation. It's that you don't know who you're supposed to be motivated for. Jung described this as the crossroads, where you can either retreat into your old identity, numb yourself, latch back onto superficial goals, or you can begin the so much harder journey, what he called individuation. This is the slow, sometimes painful process of integrating your unconscious, discovering your true self, and creating a life that isn't led by ego, but aligned with your soul. Jung once wrote, "Within each of us there is someone we do not know. He speaks to us in dreams and shows us how differently he sees us, compared to how we see ourselves." That's your new direction. Not forced, but gently unfolding as you learn to listen. But let's be honest, this space feels like chaos. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're recalibrating, realizing that much of your life was based on survival, not sovereignty. So if right now you feel stuck, aimless, unmotivated, don't panic. You're not lost. You're transitioning. Jung didn't believe your unconscious would abandon you. He believed it would send you messages, symbols, dreams, synchronicities, quiet nudges pulling you toward your next chapter, but only if you stay open. The new self can't be forced. It must be allowed to emerge. Before we dive deeper, if you're someone who values inner growth, expanding your awareness, and exploring the deeper layers of life, be sure to subscribe to Mindshift. This is your space for clarity, insight, and soul-aligned truth. Let's keep going. So here you are, in the void. The old motivations have crumbled, and the new ones haven't quite shown up yet. It's a strange, exhausting place. You're not doing much, but you feel drained. You want to move, to create, to build something meaningful. But your body and mind feel disconnected. Here's the paradox. What if the thing keeping you stuck isn't the feeling itself, but your resistance to it? Sounds backwards, right? But think about it. Every time you feel tired and scold yourself, you're not resting. You're fighting. You burn mental energy, trying to force yourself into a different state, instead of simply being with what is. It's not the fatigue that's exhausting you. It's the internal struggle against it. Jung understood this well. He famously said, "What you resist not only persists, but grows." And he meant it. When you resist parts of yourself, you split. You create inner conflict. You spend energy pretending to be okay when you're not. But what if you stopped fighting? What if you just let yourself be tired without judgment? What if instead of shaming yourself for not being motivated, you simply sat with that feeling and listened to it? Here's what would happen. Your body would relax. The tension would soften. And slowly, something new might arise. Maybe a small spark of curiosity. Maybe an unexpected urge to move, to write, to breathe deeply. That's not forced motivation. That's organic momentum. Because the truth is, emotions aren't good or bad. They're just energy. Energy that wants to move, to express, to complete its natural cycle. Sadness isn't weakness. It's your body processing something real. Anger isn't evil. It's often a truth trying to defend your boundaries. And fear? Fear is your nervous system, still trying to keep you safe, even if the threat is long gone. Watch children. They know how to do this. When they're sad, they cry. When they're angry, they scream. And 5 minutes later, they're back to playing. No shame, no suppression. But we get taught otherwise. Good boys don't cry. Anger is bad. Stop being lazy. So we suppress. And what we suppress becomes the shadow. That unconscious part of us where all our repressed feelings, desires, and truths live. And here's the thing. Your greatest power, your creativity, your authenticity, your passion, it's all buried in that shadow. So when you feel unmotivated, uninspired, tired, that's not failure. That's fuel. You don't need to fix it. You need to feel it. And when you do, it transforms. Here's a radical idea. What if your laziness is your muse? What if you wrote a poem called Fueled by Laziness? Or an essay titled The Productive Power of Doing Nothing? What if your sadness softened you? And your fear inspired your next creative leap? This is where your imagination wakes up, not by escaping these emotions, but by dancing with them. Jung would say, this is your unconscious speaking, offering symbols, metaphors, expressions that your rational mind can't quite grasp. So next time you feel stuck, don't fight it. Write from it. Create from it. Let the paradox be your guide, because your resistance isn't your enemy. It's your untapped artist, and your shadow. It's holding the brush. By now, you've probably realized the way forward after ego death isn't about pushing harder. It's about listening deeper, and that leads us to one of Jung's most profound concepts, the self. Not your job title, not your personality, not your social media profile, but your totality, your soul's blueprint, your conscious mind, your shadow, your wounds, your potential. Not just who you are, but who you were always meant to be. The self is always guiding you, sending messages, in dreams, in synchronicities, in subtle urges that feel strange, but true. The problem is, we're trained to ignore it. We trust logic, we trust action, we trust results. But motivation from the self doesn't come from pressure, it comes from resonance, from noticing what feels real, even when it's quiet. From following the gentle pull not the loud demand. And yes, this is hard. Feeling deeply can feel like losing control, like letting go of everything familiar. But here's the truth. Feeling your sadness, your tiredness, your anger, it doesn't destroy your life. It grounds you in it, because beneath all that is your real self, waiting to be heard. So when one day you feel a random urge to rearrange your space, or write a sentence, or go for a walk, don't dismiss it. That's the self-talking. Jung called this the transcendent function, the bridge between the conscious and unconscious. It's how something new emerges, not by force, but by being revealed. Yes, it takes trust, especially in a culture that glorifies productivity and treats rest as laziness and intuition as irrelevant. But your soul doesn't operate on deadlines. It moves in alignment. When you honor that, when you make space for it, you don't push yourself to act. You naturally start moving because it feels meaningful. That's when motivation shifts from something you chase to something you channel. You become a vessel for your own truth, for your creativity, your healing, your purpose. So ask yourself, what is myself trying to tell me right now? If you don't know the answer, that's okay. It means you're finally listening. And here's the part most people miss. You still have an ego, and that's okay. Jung never said the ego should be destroyed. The goal is to integrate it, to let it serve the self, instead of pretending it's all there is. So yes, keep your routines, pay your bills, show up in the world. But let those structures support your soul. Let your work have meaning. Let your mornings be gentle. Let your creativity have cycles. And when resistance shows up, again, as it will, don't fight it. Ask, what are you trying to tell me? Because now, you know how to hear the answer. You've met the part of you that doesn't need to hustle to matter. You understand now that sadness, laziness, even fear, they're not obstacles. They're messengers, carrying the keys to your next step, your next idea, your next creation. This is the gift of ego death. It strips away everything false, so that what's true can finally speak. And when you let that truth guide your actions, you stop performing and start expressing. You stop pushing and start aligning. You stop chasing life and start living it, fully, authentically, softly. That's not just motivation, that's embodiment. That's yourself, alive in the world. If this resonated with you, subscribe to Mind Shift, a space for deep thinkers, soul seekers, and those ready to stop pretending and start living their truth.